So this lecture will be briefly talking about box shadow. So a text shadow property. So text shadow property follows the following format. So you go text shadow, then you add your values. So it'll be offset x. So how much to the left or right we want our value. X for x offset y be how much up or down we want our text shadow, and blur radius would be how blurry we want it to be, and then color would be the color of the texture. So let me demonstrate this. Well, this is a little bit small, so let's make the font a little bit bigger. So font size, perhaps I could make it 70 pixels. 70 pixels, like so. And voila. So now I'll demonstrate the text shadow property. So text shadow, I can just go here. So let's just say I wanted to make it 2 pixels. So make it 2 pixels to the right, 2 pixels, and 2 pixels down, and the blur radius I could just make it 0. The thing with the blur radius is this is optional. You can also omit it. And color I could just make it gold, for instance, gold. You can also add the hex code or the RGB or RGBA, which A stands for alpha, which is for opacity. So the opacity goes from 1 to 0. So 1 would be opaque, 0 would be more and more transparent. So I mean, as it moves towards 0, it becomes more and more transparent. I'll just demonstrate this right now. So for example, let's take some arbitrary values, so 167 red, 54 blue, and 172 172 blue, and then I'll just make the opacity 1 just to demonstrate this. Okay, the text shadow. Okay, so here there was an error here. Gotta make sure we follow the format. So there we go. So it gives us like purplish color. It was completely arbitrary, by the way. And let's just say I wanted to make it more obvious. So I'm just going to put it to the right by 6 pixels. And there you go. So now it's 6 pixels to the right. If I wanted to make it go to the left, I could just say negative 6 pixels to demonstrate. So now it's just moving to the left now. So I can just leave it here for now. And I'll just demonstrate the opacity property here. So for example, 0.5. Let's take note at how opaque it becomes. It becomes less transparent. There we go. See, it becomes less transparent. It becomes like a lighter shade. And what else? So a cool thing about this is I can also add another layer. Say I wanted to make a blue shadow now. So I could just go -6. Or I could just say 8 just to distinguish it. 8 pixels, 2 pixels down, 0, and then I could just, I said I was gonna make it blue, right? So blue. There you go. So now I have a new text shadow which is blue in a similar fashion. And of course I said this is the blur radius, so how blurry it becomes. So for example, yeah, I could just use pixel values. So for example, I could just say 2 pixels. So that's the blur radius is 2 pixels, so it becomes more and more blurred. And let's just say I made it 5 pixels. Let me just remove this one. There we go. So it makes it more blurry. So I could just omit this and go 0 as a value. So 0 now, it's not blurry. And I said this was optional. There we go. So that's optional. So that's how that works. So that's how box shadow works. And you can certainly layer many colors if you want to. So that's how it works. You can also say negative. So negative. So this is what's going down in the y direction or the vertical direction. You can also make it go up by going 2 pixels up. So let me just make this very noticeable. So let's just make it 10 pixels up. There we go. So the texture is now going up by 10 pixels. So that's how that works. Thank you very much.